Hi, not the face you're used to, am I? My name is Becca. I'm Sami's sister, her older sister, and I'm guest starring. I'm taking over her channel today. Don't tell her. And I'm going to talk about my favorite books of 2024. But I read different genres than Sami does, so I think I have different types of suggestions than she has. I don't read romance. Instead of mysteries, I read more thrillers. So I'm going to talk about not every book I read. It's 40 books, that would take forever, but I am going to talk about my top books that I read. Other difference from Sami is that I read on my Kindle. I have my cute little Hufflepuff stickers and stuff on here. Because I usually just get them from Libby. Because I read mostly at night and it's just so much easier for me. I feel like I read faster and stuff on there. So that's one thing different about me. Also, I probably write a lot different than most people because I am a newspaper journalist and so I know how hard it is to write and so I rate pretty high. Um, so most of these that I'm showing you are probably 5 stars. And most of them I have read on my Kindle, but I do have some hard copies. For some of them, I just had to have hard copy because I'm weird, but I much prefer to read on my Kindle. The first top one I read this year, I don't have a copy of, I read it on Libby, is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. It's the Hunger Games prequel that talks about President Snow's life as, I think he was in high school, college. Talks about President Snow's Coriolanus, not Cornelius, Coriolanus. Talks about his life and what he went through when he was 18. For me, the Hunger Games books, I read those all when I was in, like, I think high school, so it was kind of nostalgic for me. I still haven't seen the movie, but I really liked this. I gave it 5 stars. It was it was nostalgic. I really liked going back and kind of entering that world again, and I think those books have really good lessons in them about this world. So yeah, I really like, and I'm glad she's coming out with another one. Suzanne Collins is coming out with another book about, I believe it's Haymitch's story, so I'm excited to read that one too. But I did really like this. It wasn't as good as the actual Hunger Games series, but it was still good. But the next top is actually a series. I read the whole series this year on Sami's recommendation because she never shut up about these books. You've probably heard it too. I only have the second one as a hard copy that we got at our used bookstore in town, but it's a Thursday Murder Club series. I read all 4. They're all 5 stars. They're all great. It's just a really cute series with, old people solving murders. It's just really cute. And I'm sure Sami has talked about this enough to where I don't need to talk about it more. I'll just leave it at that. You should read it though. This next series I read is not something that I would normally read whatsoever. It's a mob series. My favorite actor is Austin Butler, and he's going to be in a movie called City on Fire. He's going to be playing the main character, Danny Ryan. I am someone who likes to read the book before watching the movie, and he hasn't even filmed this yet, but I read it a while ago. I read City on Fire, which is the first one, and then City of Dreams is the second book, and City in Ruins is the third book. They are really good books. I'll read you the synopsis maybe for the first one. 2 criminal empires together control all of New England until a beautiful woman comes between the Irish and the Italians, launching a war that will see them kill each other, destroy an alliance, and set a city on fire. Danny Ryan, Austin Butler, yearns for a more legit life and place in the sun, but as the bloody conflict stacks body on body and turns against brother, Danny has to rise above himself. To save the friends he loves like family and the family he has sworn to protect, he becomes a leader, a ruthless strategist, and a master of a treacherous game in which the winners live and losers die. The gritty streets of Providence, Rhode Island, to the glittering screens of Hollywood, to the golden casinos of Las Vegas, 2 rival crime families ignite a war that will leave only one standing. The winner will forge a dynasty. This, when I read it, I was like, this is like something my grandpa would have read. You know what I mean? It felt like Tom Clancy or something. So this is not something that I would normally read, but I ended up really, really liking him. So even if it sounds like something you wouldn't like, you might actually really like it because I did. And I was like, I'll read the first one, but I'm probably not gonna like be obsessed with it. I loved it enough to read the other two, and I gave them all 5 stars. So speaking of Austin Butler, he just wrapped filming another movie called Caught Stealing, and he's playing again the main character, Hank Thompson. And I read that series. So this is the second book, Six Bad Things. I had to get a hard copy of this because I could not find it on Libby anywhere, which they sold me an ARC, which I thought you weren't supposed to do, but they did. So this one I was really interested in because Austin Butler is playing a washed out baseball player. And I am a huge sports fan. Baseball is my favorite. So I was really interested in this one and I'm really excited for the movie. And I read all 3 of the books in this series and I gave them all 5 stars too. This first book, Caught Stealing, I read it in one day. That's how good it was and how unputdownable it was. It's 3,000 miles from the green fields of glory, where Henry Hank Thompson once played California baseball, to the Lower East Side of Manhattan, where the tenements are old, the rents are high, and the drunks are dirty. But now Hank is here, working as a bartender and taking care of a cat named Bud, who is surely going to get him killed. It begins when Hank's neighbor Russ has to leave town in a rush and hands over Bud and a carrier. It isn't until 2 Russians in tracksuits tag Hank over the bar at the joint where he works and beat him to a pulp that he starts to get the idea. Someone wants something from him. He just doesn't know what it is, where it is, or how to make them understand he doesn't have it. Within 24 hours, Hank is running over rooftops, swinging his old aluminum bat for the sweet spot of a guy's head, hide and seek with the NYPD, riding the subway with a dead man at his side, and counting a whole lot of cash on a concrete floor, all because of 2 cowboys, 2 Russian mafia men, and some of the weirdest goons ever assembled in one place, all because of Bud, the cutest cat. Highly recommend those 3 books. So, one that I rated 4 stars just because it's not something I would normally read is I read Dune, still on Austin Butler. He played Fade Ralpha in Dune, and knew I wanted to watch the movie once it came out, and so I wanted to read it ahead of time. And while I can appreciate how inventive it is, and I can appreciate how good it is in its genre, sci-fi is not something that I'm interested in. So, and it's long, so getting through it was kind of like ugh, but I appreciate it for what it is. It is a really good story. It's just not my favorite. Austin absolutely killed it in the movie, of course, but it's just not my favorite book of all time. But I can understand that it's an incredible book. Do you understand? Okay. Next, you absolutely have to read this memoir. It's my second favorite memoir of the year that I read, The House of Hidden Meanings by RuPaul. We love in this house RuPaul. We love drag queens. We love watching Drag Race. We named our cat Ru after RuPaul. We freaking love RuPaul. So reading this was so interesting. I learned more about Ru and his life as a young drag queen and his life with his mom, and it was just really interesting. Do I feel it was like the deepest, most juiciest celebrity memoir ever? No, but it was a really good one. I rated it 5 stars, of course. I really liked it. If you like RuPaul, read it. It's really good. So the reason I love Austin Butler so much is because Elvis, the movie that came out in 2022, directed by Baz Luhrmann, is the greatest movie of all time, in my humble opinion. Um, Austin absolutely killed it in that movie. And Sammy and I's grandma absolutely loved Elvis. He was his biggest fan. And seeing that movie really invigorated my own love for Elvis and his music, and just I collect Elvis things and I love reading books about Elvis. So this one is actually a novel called Graceland. This one, it was just really cute. I gave it 5 stars. Robinson can't seem to please anyone lately, not her slogan spewing boss, not her pink haired teenage daughter, and especially not her mother, the soap star Olivia Grant. Olivia loves Elvis more than Jesus. Now that she's on oxygen, she insists Hope take her on a final trip to Graceland. Unfortunately, that's the one place Hope can't go. 18 years earlier, pregnant and distraught, Hope fled Tennessee with a secret agreement to never reveal her baby's father and never return to Memphis. Olivia, though, has never learned the word no. After she wrangles Hope's impulsive daughter, Dylan, to drive her from Boston to Memphis with the promise of meeting her mystery father, Hope has no choice but to chase after them. She must stop them before they ambush Dylan's father, exposing Hope's lies, breaking the NDA, and igniting a political and media firestorm. Along the road to Memphis, as the women encounter former soap actors, free-range ferrets, and a trio of Elvis impersonating frat boys, everyone's long-held secrets begin to unravel. In order to become the family they long to be, they must face hard truths about themselves and one another on the bumpy road to acceptance, forgiveness, and ultimately grace. I thought it was really cute. It's a nice, lighthearted book about moms and daughters and grandmas. And I liked the Graceland and Elvis element. It was just really cute. My favorite author coming into this year was Leanne Moriarty, and I read 2 of her books this year. What Alice Forgot, I really liked this one. Alice gets amnesia and forgets her life, and I thought this one was really good. I rated it 5 stars, but I liked her new one, Year One Moment. Sami got me the art for it. I liked this one way better. This one is my top 3 of hers were Big Little Lies, Nine Perfect Strangers, and Apples Never Fall. But this one definitely has pushed its way into the top 3 because this one is really, really good. I gave it 5 stars. Basically, these people are on a plane and there's this lady on there who's like freaking out and she's telling everyone when they're going to die. So then they call her the death lady and she's just telling everyone like what age they're gonna die. And so like once that happens to like one person, then people start freaking out because it's actually happening and they're trying to figure out who this lady actually is, and it's just really good. So highly recommend that one. One of the best ones I read this year was Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. This one was good. I'll read the synopsis for this one. Chilling family thriller, like I said, I love thrillers, about the skeletons in the closet. After their mother passes, 3 estranged siblings reunite to sort out her estate. Beth, the oldest, never left home. She stayed home with mom, caring for her until the very end. Nicole, the middle child, has been kept at arm's length due to her ongoing battle with a serious drug addiction. Michael, the youngest, lives out of state and hasn't been back to their small Wisconsin town since their father ran out on them 7 years before. While going through their parents' belongings, the siblings stumble upon a collection of home videos and decide to revisit those happier memories. However, the nostalgia is cut short when one of the VHS tapes reveals the night back in 1999 that none of them have ever or have any recollection of. On screen, their father appears covered in blood. What follows is a dead body and a pact between their parents to get rid of it. Before the video abruptly ends, Beth, Nicole, and Michael must now decide whether to leave the past in the past or uncover the dark secret their mother took to her grave. Really good one. Highly recommend. I read another one of hers, The Perfect Marriage, right after, and I'm just seeing there's going to be a sequel to that coming out next year. So, cool. The Perfect Marriage was good, but I liked Home is Where the Bodies Are even more. Like, way more. Then I started my obsession with my new favorite author. I like Leanne Moriarty still, and they're definitely way different, but this author became my favorite author of all time this year, for sure. Riley Sager, and it all started with this book. I saw this book on Libby come up in the new section, and I was like, that sounds incredible. The worst thing ever happened on Hemlock Circle occurred in Ethan Marsh's backyard. One July night, 10-year-old Ethan and his best friend and neighbor Billy fell asleep in a tent set up on a manicured lawn in a quiet, quaint New Jersey cul-de-sac. In the morning, Ethan woke up alone. During the night, someone had sliced the tent open with a knife and taken Billy. He was never seen again. 30 years later, Ethan has reluctantly returned to his childhood home. Plagued by bad dreams and insomnia, he begins to notice strange things happening in the middle of the night. Someone seems to be roaming the cul-de-sac at odd hours, and signs of Billy's presence keep appearing in Ethan's backyard. Is someone playing a cruel prank, or has Billy, long thought to be dead, somehow returned to Hemlock Circle? The mysterious occurrences prompt Ethan to investigate what really happened that night, a quest that reunites him with former friends and neighbors and leads them into the woods that surround Hemlock Circle. woods where Billy claimed ghosts roamed and where a mysterious institute does clandestine research on a crumbling estate. The closer Ethan gets to the truth, the more he realizes that no place, be it quiet forest or a suburban street, is completely safe, that the past has a way of haunting the present. This book was definitely in my top 3 best of the year. I really loved this book. It made me fall in love with this author. I made my mom read this too. I want Sammy to read this. I think it is such a good book. I highly, highly recommend it. I also told my best friend about this one because I want her to read it too. So Riley Sager's other ones I read, the next one I read of his, another one that I absolutely love. This is another Middle of the Night, and this one, the only one last year in my top 3 of his for sure. At 17, Lenora Hope hung her sister with a rope. Now reduced to a schoolyard chant, the Hope family murder shocked the Maine coast one bloody night in 1929. While most people assumed 17-year-old Lenora was responsible, the police were never able to prove it. Other than her denial after the killing, she has never spoken publicly about that night, nor has she set foot outside Hope's End, the cliffside mansion where the massacre occurred. Stabbed her father with a knife, took her mother's happy life. Now it's 1983, and home health aide Kit McDeer arrives at a decaying Hope's End to care for Lenora after her previous nurse fled in the middle of the night. In her 70s and confined to a wheelchair, Lenora was rendered mute by a series of strokes and can only communicate with Kit by tapping out sentences on an old typewriter. One night, Lenora uses it to make a tantalizing offer. I want to tell you everything. It wasn't me, Lenora said, but she's the only one not dead. As Kit helps Lenora write about the events leading to the Hope family massacre, it becomes clear there is more to the tale than people know. But when new details about her predecessor's departure come to light, Kit starts to suspect Lenora might not be telling the complete truth and that the seemingly harmless woman in her care could be far more dangerous than she first thought. This one, out of all of them, I remember the most about what happened. It This is another one I made my mom read, which is why I have the physical copy of it. And I want Sammy to read so bad because it's just really, really good. Highly, highly recommend. I'm sure a lot of people have already read this one, but if you haven't, you must put this on your want to read list. The next Riley Sager one I read was Survive the Night. That one has to do with a girl who needs a ride home from college, and she's kind of scared the guy that's driving her home is kind of a hokey guy. That one was really good. The House Across the Lake, I really liked that one, but it has this point in it where you're kind of like, but I still suggest you read it. It's still really good, but it's kind of not believable. But like none of this is. None of his really are. So you have to take that one with a grain of salt. I really wasn't expecting the little twist in it to be what it was, but it was still really good. So it's not my favorite of his. I still highly recommend that you read it. And then the last book I read actually was Home Before Dark. And that one is definitely in my top 3 of his. Woman returns to the house made famous by her father's best-selling horror memoir. Is the place really haunted by evil forces, as her father claimed, or are there more earthbound and dangerous secrets hidden within its walls? 25 years ago, she and her parents moved into Bainbury Hall, a rambling Victorian estate in the Vermont woods. They spent 3 weeks there before fleeing in the dead of night, an ordeal her dad later recounted in a nonfiction book called House of Horrors. His tale of ghostly happenings and encounters with malevolent spirits became a worldwide phenomenon. Today, Maggie is a restorer of old homes and too young to remember any of the events mentioned in the book, but she also doesn't believe a word of it. Ghosts, after all, don't exist. When Maggie inherits Bainbury Hall after her father's death, she returns to renovate the place to prepare it for sale, but her homecoming is anything but warm. People from the past, chronicled in the book, lurk in the shadows, and locals aren't thrilled that their small town has been made infamous thanks to Maggie's father. Even more unnerving is Bainbury Hall itself, a place filled with relics from another era that hint at a history of dark deeds. This book was very, very good and is in my top 3 of Riley Sager books. The twists are really, really good. So I got this one at our used bookstore when we did like the $5 bag book day, The Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling. This book, I really wanted to see her writing style about something other than Harry Potter. I was just curious, and it's about like a city council in the UK, and I have to write city council meetings for my newspaper that I work for. So I was just kind of curious. Even though they don't really have any like meetings in it, I don't know. It just was interesting. It's not the greatest book of all time, but it actually was really good. Is it as good as Harry Potter? No, but it was pretty good. I gave it 5 stars. I don't know. I was just curious how her writing style would be. I didn't know that she had a book that wasn't Harry Potter. So I read a book called Under Your Spell by Laura Wood. This is the only romance I read, and I only read it because of the book description. I'm a huge Niall Horan fan, and this book reminded me of him. The daughter of an aging rock star finds herself working for the hottest musician on the planet, and it was really cute. I I'm really not into romances, like especially like Sammy is. They're just not my kind of books. I don't watch Hallmark movies like Sammy does and stuff. They're just not my cup of tea. So romance books really aren't my thing, but this just reminded me of him and it was like a short little book. And so I read it and I thought it was good. I gave it 5 stars. I read We Solve Murders by Richard Osman, the same author who wrote the Thursday Murder Club books. He came out with another book starting a new series. It's not as good as Thursday Murder Club, in my opinion, but I thought it was really good. And I'm excited to see what he does with that series. I think Sammy already talked about that one, so I won't go too in depth about that one. So I mentioned Niall Horan. We are huge One Direction fans. We love Harry Styles. And his sister Gemma Styles wrote a book called Why Am I Like This? My Brain Isn't Broken and Neither Is Yours. I just read this month. I suffer from anxiety, and she talks about that. She talks about having ADHD, OCD, and talks kind of about your brain and why you have these conditions, and kind of explains the science behind having things like anxiety and ADHD and stuff. I thought it was very well researched and kind of makes you feel like you have a friend in Gemma who understands what you're going through. So I thought it was really good. So this was definitely my favorite book that I read this year. It's definitely the best celebrity memoir that I've ever read. I don't cry at anything other than like sports or if it has to do with a member of One Direction. I cried at this memoir, especially the end. I like sobbed in bed. It's Lisa Marie Presley's memoir called From Here to the Great Unknown. She basically, before she died, she recorded a lot of tapes because she wanted to write a memoir. So her daughter, Riley Keough, wrote it uh, for her with the tapes after Lisa Marie died. She kind of finished it. That's her daughter for when she was young. Riley Keough now she's an actress and a singer. She played Daisy Jones in Daisy Jones and the Six, and so she helped kind of finish the book for Lisa Marie, and this is just so good. It kind of goes back and forth between Lisa Marie's voice and Riley's voice. Lots of pictures in it. Really cool because you learn about Lisa Marie and Elvis's relationship. So you have that father-daughter kind of relationship, and then you also get Riley and Lisa Marie's relationship, and you just learn so much about Lisa Marie and what she went through in life, and talks about being married to Michael Jackson, and talks about Lisa Marie's death. It talks about Elvis's death. It's just honestly, this is the best book I read this year for sure. If I had to recommend one to you, it'd be this one. Even if you don't know anything about Elvis or Lisa Marie or anything, it's just a good book. So I highly recommend this one 100%. I have had this on my to be read list since I saw the Elvis movie 2 years ago. It's Elvis and Me by Priscilla Presley. Um, I mean, I rated this 5 stars, and I think if you like Elvis, you kind of have to read it. I think it's really interesting. I think if you want to actually know, like, if you really want to know about Elvis, I think this is a way better book. It was good. I think this one is way better. Yeah, I think Riley is doing such good things for both Lisa Marie's legacy and Elvis's legacy. So I liked this one way more, but I wanted to read this one just to get that point of view as well. So other books I read that I'm not gonna really go into that weren't top favorites, but that I did read. I read 40 books this year. 20 Years Later by Charlie Don Leah, Hotel Nantucket by Ellen Hildebrand, The Villa by Rachel Hawkins, The Fury by Alex Michaelides, The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. Meant to mention, and I skipped over it, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. That was one of the best books that I read this year. You have to read that one. I want to get a hard copy of that one, but I haven't got it yet, but I want to. That book was so good, and I really didn't expect it to be as good as it was, but it was so good. I think I might have cried a little bit at that one. It was really good. Highly recommend that one. I read None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell, The Unwedding by Ali Condi, The Truths We Hold, An American Journey by Kamala Harris. She's from the Bay Area. Learning more about, the election we had and our vice president. She's such an inspiration. She's so cool. That book was incredible. I need one more book for my challenge for 2024 to get to 40 books. So I'm going to read The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager because I am just so into his books. And I'm really excited for his one that is coming out in June that's about being on a train, I think, with a vengeance. That sounds really good. But I'm going to read The Last Time I Lied. It's about a summer camp thriller. So I'm really excited to read that one. If I had to pick a top 3 books that I read in 2024, number 1 would be From Here to the Great Unknown by Lisa Marie Presley and Riley Keough. Middle of the Night by Riley Sager, because it's what got me into Riley Sager, even though I really like other ones of his as well. This one was really good. And I think for third, it would be either The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo or Caught Stealing. Caught Stealing was really good. Again, I read it in a day, so it has to be an indication that was pretty darn good. Anyway, don't tell Sami I did this. I took over her channel without telling her, and tell her to read this and Riley Sager. Tell her. She likes Elvis too. Tell her. And convince her to start reading on a Kindle. You can have cute little stickers. It displays your book title. I'm gonna get her one for Christmas. Convince her. Not a Hufflepuff, she's a Gryffindor, but I'll get her stickers. I mean, come on. Come on. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my books. They're way different from what Sami reads. Clearly, we're two very different people. Apparently, older sisters read much cooler books. So, obviously, I'm a Scorpio. Can you tell from what I read? The amount of thrillers. Hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe to Sami's channel. Isn't she the best? Merry Bookmas, everybody. Goodbye.